I always find it funny when airlines are like, thank you for picking us to fly with. I'm just like, duh, you were the cheapest. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. My name is Ali. Today, I'm finally gonna share all of my secret insider hacks on how to save money while traveling. So if you enjoy luxurious vacations and splurging on trips, that is so fine, power to you. That is not me. I like to stretch my money as far as possible and see as many places as I can, and that's where all of these tips come in. I have been to around 35 to 40 countries now, and here's everything that I learned. So I'm gonna start with the tips that are slightly more practical, you know, kind of common sense, but still things that people really need to know. And then towards the end, I'll share kind of my more specific, kind of embarrassing tips that I do. Also, leave a comment down below. Tell me, what are your hacks for saving money? Because I feel like everyone just has different tips that they've discovered, and I would love to hear them. Okay, so let's start with before you actually leave for your trip. The very first thing that you need to do, I feel like most people know this by now, but just in case you don't, when you're looking for flights, make sure you're using an incognito browser because the internet does use your cookies and see what flights you're tracking. Also, if you can, use a VPN service that changes your location, because not only are these websites using your cookies to see like what flights you're looking at and tracking that information, they also look at where you're browsing from. The exact same flight could cost a lot more if you're booking it from a country that has a higher GDP compared to one that has a lower GDP. I saw a guy test this out, I'll put it in here, and the results were actually quite significant, so it's worth doing. If you are someone that's able to sort of travel a bit more spontaneously, download apps like I Know the Pilot. They share flash sales and deals and things like that that pop up. It's really exciting to check out, even if you're not booking anything. I love seeing what comes through. Sometimes if there's like an error in flight sales, they'll catch that as well and you can pick up on it. Also, just being flexible in general with things like your dates or where you're flying to, that will save you a bunch of money. Not everyone can do it obviously, but it's a big help. Okay, my second tip is to get creative with your flight plan. Oftentimes we look at where we're leaving from and our destination and only those flights. However, sometimes it's actually cheaper to get a flight from where you are to your destination as a stopover. So say I'm in LA and I'm trying to fly to Dallas. A flight to Dallas from LA might be like $500, whereas I might find a flight from LA to New York for $300 and it just happens to have a stopover in Dallas. You just skip the last leg of your flight. The only thing is you can only travel with carry-on luggage because obviously your bags will be sent to the end location. So if you're able to travel carry-on or it's a short trip, it's a great idea. There's an app called Skip Lag which shows you all these kind of deals, so check that out. This is not something that I do, but I know a lot of people find it really helpful, and that is to use a credit card that gets you miles. If you're someone that uses a credit card or you feel comfortable with doing that, it makes no sense not to. You're already spending the money, you might as well get the free travel out of it anyway. I personally like to shop around for like the cheapest flight. I don't care which airline it's with. I always find it funny when airlines are like, thank you for picking us to fly with. I'm just like, duh, you were the cheapest. However, if you do have a preferred airline that you choose to fly with, you're gonna rack up a lot more frequent flyer miles, so that can be handy. I just don't. I prefer to use websites like Momondo, which kind of compares all the different deals, but you could also use Skyscanner, Kayak, or even Google Flights. Don't ever accept just the first flight you find. There will always be a cheaper option. Another thing that you need to do before you travel is look up the holidays of the place you're going to be visiting. For example, I have been to America and made the mistake of going to a national park on Labor Day and also Memorial Day just because I didn't know what these were. By looking these up ahead of time, not only will you save money because there's often a surcharge on things like Airbnb or even hotels, but you'll also probably avoid a lot of crowds. Check out school holidays as well. I do this even when flying around Australia because flights can be more expensive, accommodation can be more expensive. Just try and avoid those busier times, and in general, just try and travel in off-peak seasons. New York at Christmas time might be beautiful, but it's gonna cost a lot more than if you visit in, say, September. Okay, now let's talk about how to save money whilst actually traveling. So obviously the number one most expensive cost when it comes to traveling is flights, but we don't really have a lot of say in that. We're gonna have to end up paying whatever we have to pay. However, when it comes to accommodation, that is something that we can definitely have a say in. There is a huge range between staying in like a $10 hostel or whatever you call it to a $4,000 hotel, all right? There's a huge space in the middle that you can pick for your budget and your comfort range. If you're traveling on a budget, we do not stay in hotels, okay? Maybe once every now and again, it's nice to treat yourself, but if we're trying to spend as little money as possible, No. I find hostels are great when you're traveling with friends because you can all just share a room together and it's kind of like a big slumber party. But these days Airbnbs can be just as affordable, especially if you're sharing with a lot of people. You can get really, really good deals. I just find it's so handy. Not only do you get the space to yourself, but also you have a kitchen. Staying somewhere with a kitchen will just save you so much money because you can buy your own groceries and just cook and prepare it for yourself rather than going out and spending so much money every time you eat. When you add up the price of a meal, it's like you're paying say $15 for a meal plus tax tax plus tip plus a fee to like eat in at the restaurant, you're so much better just to buy the groceries yourself. You could literally eat a meal for 50 cents. If it's pasta or rice or oatmeal or anything like that, you can save so much money just by preparing your own food. So start by getting a place that has a kitchen. Couch surfing is obviously an option as well. It's just not something that I've tried before. I think if I were with a group of people or were staying with a woman, I'd feel pretty comfortable to do that. But yeah, if anyone's tried that, let me know. Okay, now when it comes to food, I think $30 a day is very, very achievable, and it's very easy to stay under that as well. Here's how you do it. First things first, we always stay somewhere that offers free breakfast, whether that's a hotel, a hostel, a motel, or even an Airbnb where they provide that kind of thing. This is where you eat like it's the last meal of your life.
It's a buffet, man.
Oh, here's where I win all my money back.
Okay, I'm talking all the cereal, all the muesli, all the toast, all the coffee, whatever you can eat. You really, really fill up and fuel for the day, because lunch, we're not buying lunch. We're gonna take an apple or a bagel or some toast or a muffin and eat it on the road. You're still gonna be so full from breakfast. That's just like a snack for later in the day. Then you don't have to buy lunch, you're not spending anywhere, and you don't even have to like stop and slow down. Just have a little snack on the road. I feel like any seasoned traveler that does this on a budget knows that we don't buy lunch. We eat a massive breakfast and take some for later. Once I was staying in Vegas with a bunch of friends, and we managed to get a really good deal in a hotel where it was like $10 or $20 a night each, and it was a really nice hotel, and they had a buffet breakfast. So the buffet breakfast probably went till like 10 or 11 anyway, so you could have a big brunch. I'm not kidding when I say I would eat a bagel with peanut butter, 2 bowls of cereal or muesli, a plate of fried potato gems and sauce, a coffee, a juice, anything I could fit in my stomach I would eat. And then I would also take a bagel for later and an apple for later and some peanut butter for later in those little packets they give you, and a little knife. That's my lunch. And then the hotel we were staying at also offered like a happy hour drink and snack. So down in the lobby from like 5 till 7, we would get free alcohol and free like chips and guac and cooked something or other, and there's dinner. And we would just spend the day lying by the pool, reading, hanging out, exploring the strip, and get all of this free food for like $10, $20 a night in a really nice hotel. That's just the most important rule. Never pay for breakfast. Don't pay for lunch or dinner if you can help it either, but eat as much as you can at breakfast and then take some for the road. Always. I've also heard that a lot of Northern European and like Nordic countries do lunchtime deals where the meals that you would order off the menu cost half as much as they would at dinner. So in that case, you would make lunch your big meal. You would sort of have a small breakfast or a coffee or whatever you could make at home, eat like a king at lunch, and then just have a small dinner. Also, when it comes to Airbnbs, you can always ask to remove the cleaning fee and just do it yourself. They won't always say yes, but it's definitely worth asking because you can save a lot of money for not very much work. Saves them hiring someone or doing it themselves, so it's always worth asking. Now here's a hack. If an airport doesn't offer Wi-Fi or free Wi-Fi, go and find the airport lounge and sit out the front of that. If the airport lounge Wi-Fi isn't free, there's a website that actually has the passwords for almost every airport in the world. It's called Fox Nomad, and I will link it below. Now this next tip is for my spontaneous travelers. I personally prefer to book a little bit ahead, but if you can do this and sort of travel day by day, you'll save a lot of money. The website Hotel Tonight often has super cheap hotel deals for that same day. If they have spare rooms, they would rather put those rooms on sale and lower the price considerably than have them empty and make no money. So check out those deals the same day or even just hours before, and you'll probably find some really good rates. My next tip is a pretty general one. If you have legs, use them. We do not pay for Ubers around here unless you're in LA, where their public transport is awful and everything is very spread out and you just can't walk, but at least they have Uber Pool and that's fairly cheap. But you know what, even they have buses, so still get the bus. My favorite way to see a city by far is to walk around. You get to see everything and like just experience it a bit more hands-on, I guess. If it's really cold or like really spread out, you could still use the train, the bus, the trams, monorails, ferries. I just try to avoid Ubers at all costs. They really just add up. You can often get like a daily pass for the public transport for around $5, whereas an Uber's gonna set you back like $20 per trip. So avoid it at all costs. Also, just a general safety tip, if you are getting into an Uber or a taxi on your own, try and keep your bags with you, like in the back seat. If something bad ever happens and you have to get out or they are trying to like leave you, you don't want your bags to be in the boot or the trunk, so just try and keep them with you. Okay, so if you're traveling in a motorhome or a camper van or an RV, first of all, well done, because you're already saving money. And the best tip I have for you for saving more money is to stay in Walmart parking lots, or car parks as we call them. This is something I learned from my dad growing up, and he would be so proud that I'm sharing it with you now. But basically, the Walmart supercenters are open 24 hours, and it's completely normal and and legal and fine to stay in their parking lots. Not only is this free and you're saving money on accommodation that you might have spent on like a campground or a motel or something, but also it's open 24 hours, so you can go and buy groceries if you need them. I can't tell you the amount of times we've pulled up to one at like 2 a.m. and been like, think I need some Ben and Jerry's. Or waking up in the morning and being like, oh, I'm actually out of cereal. I'm just gonna duck inside and get some. You can use their restroom, or if you're like 9-year-old me, you can go in there and buy the latest Mary-Kate and Ashley book. It's win-win. God bless Walmart Supercenters. They have been saving me money my whole life. Another pro tip that I learned the hard way, well, I just learned it from my parents basically, but if you're traveling in a camper van or a motorhome, but you don't have like a shower or access to anything like that, utilize local community pools. Sometimes they'll let you in for free. Usually it'll just be like a few dollars entry, and if you're paying, you might as well just have a swim as well, because if you're on the road, you know, stretch your back, get some exercise. I taught my friends this trick when we were on a road trip in 2017, and luckily they were game. It was really fun, and I have some great memories from public pools all around the country. Okay, now this is something you need to never ever do. When it comes to money, do not exchange your currency at the airport. Just don't. It always costs more to do it there, and there's just no need to. I feel like most places you don't even need to get cash out anymore anyway. You can always use like a debit card or a travel card. Just make sure you always tell your bank that you're about to go overseas so that they don't, you know, cancel your card. I think most people typically tend to have Apple Pay now anyway, but it can't hurt to get a spare debit card or like just a traveler's card, just in case you get stuck. Okay, this is one of my favorites. If you are wanting to buy apparel, so like a souvenir, like a t-shirt or a hoodie from an area that you're in, this works especially well if it's like a college town or they've got like a big football team or like some kind of team. Do not go to the gift shops. Do not pay for those expensive airport merchandise t-shirts, you know? Go and find an op shop that's like a mile down the road, and I'm telling you, they will have so many things there for 1/90th of the price. This is one of the best things I did when I visited Tulane College and also like Harvard and Yale and NYU and things like that. My favorite pieces have been from thrift shops just down the street. You end up getting the same products, the same hoodies or t-shirts. It's way cheaper, and a lot of the time they have like really cool vintage designs or like things that people have actually loved and worn, so it's way more unique. I know these recommendations are just all over the shop, but also every single city you visit is going to have free attractions. So whether that's things like free walking tours or free museum entry on a certain day, and a lot of places have student discounts as well. I know Australia has certain visas and also certain discounts if you're under 30, and Great Britain has this thing called the Millennial Railroad Pass, where if you're, I think, 26 to 36, you can travel for like 1/3 of the price off, so definitely look into that. And also if you're staying in a hostel, they always have things like free walking tours, free trivia nights, and pub crawls and things like that, where not only can you make friends, but it's just a free way to see the area and often has a free drink included. So when it comes to national park entry, usually it's about $30 per car. So super helpful if you're traveling with friends because you can just split the cost, but also it means that if you're traveling to like 3 or more of the parks, you might as well just get the annual pass, which only costs $80. Also, they allow you to share this pass with a friend. So if you're only in the States for like a few months or a few weeks, once you've seen the parks you like, you can give it to a friend and they can use it for the rest of the year. Okay, so this next tip might sound counterintuitive, but hear me out. Book extra long layovers. You can get a stopover somewhere that's 8 hours, 12 hours, 24, even 48 hours, and you can see a different city or even country in that time, basically for free. For example, my dad had always wanted to take me to see Hong Kong, and so when we were coming home from somewhere else, we just had like an 8-hour stopover there. We explored heaps of the city, and then we just kept flying home. So we didn't have to pay for any accommodation, maybe one meal, which you're gonna have to pay for somewhere anyway, and the flight was probably cheaper because you're flying somewhere with a stopover rather than direct. And tying into that, also it's going to be a lot cheaper if you fly overnight and take the red eye. I know they suck, but if you're able to sleep on them even at all, it's so worth it. If you're really hardcore, you can also do like the overnight buses. I think I did one once in Paris or something overnight for like 11 hours, and those European buses, man, they're not comfortable, but it's worth it for the plot. Okay, now we're up to my personal spicy travel life-saving hacks that some people will laugh at, but I do what I do. So if you're ever staying at a motel or a hotel or any accommodation like that, and you've forgotten or lost something that's very common, so something like an iPhone charger or a wall converter plug for like a certain country, ask the front desk. They pretty much always have spares. I did this at a Motel 6 in Montana, I think it was, and I got like 2 free phone chargers out of it. Not bad. If you're staying at a hotel or an Airbnb or anywhere that provides toiletries while you're staying there, you're taking those with you and you're using them on the road. I feel like everyone does that anyway, but just in case you weren't, you definitely should be. Okay, this one's a little bit riskier, but totally worth it if you can pull it off, and that is to wait until you're at the gate to check your luggage in. Most of the time, they end up with all of the overhead space filling up, and they ask if they can stow some people's bags underneath the plane. You can be like, yeah, sure, I'll do it, and there you go. You just save 50 bucks. Okay, this next one, if Cruise America sees this, I promise I'm just kidding, but that is renting a 4-person RV for 5 or 6 people. As long as there's the right amount of seatbelts, it's totally fine. We just rented like a blow-up air mattress from Walmart and put it in the middle and then rotated beds each night. The air mattress ended up being a lot of people's favorite bed. It meant we could drive a smaller vehicle than the long 6-person one, and we saved a lot of money. Also on that note, traveling with friends will just always save you money, because if you're paying for things like petrol or park entry, things where you're gonna have to pay it anyway, it's obviously always better to share that cost. This tip is not necessarily just specific to saving money, but if I'm booking a flight with just me and one other person, I will always, without a doubt, book the window seat for me and the aisle seat for them, because 99% of the time, if someone else is then looking online to book a seat, they're not gonna pick the one between 2 other people. They're gonna pick somewhere else on the plane. If the flight does end up being full and someone does sit in the middle of you, they're gonna happily swap with one of you and prefer to take the window or the aisle. Most of the time, this never happens. This has never happened to me. You will almost always end up with a middle seat empty in between you for free. Now, I know this next tip isn't necessarily possible for everyone, but I think it is if you just put a bit of work in, and basically that is to stay with friends. So a lot of the work that I've done overseas, but also social media, has just allowed me to connect with so many people all around the world, and that is by far what has saved me the most money, because I've just got all of these people that I can visit and stay with, and then they can stay with me, and it's so much nicer than, you know, staying somewhere on your own. Not only are you saving money, but you also have like a free tour guide in their home city, which is great, and you can sort of experience things like a local. One of my favorite travel memories was 2017. I flew out to Oregon and I ended up staying with my friend Shay, and it was so nice to just be there for a week. And even on the days that she had work or just, you know, couldn't hang out and was busy and doing things, I got to explore the city and like go and do my own things, and I felt like I was living there rather than just like a tourist visiting for the week. And then it's also been really great to be able to host my friends here in Australia when they visit. I've hosted a bunch of my American friends here, and it's so nice getting to show them like my favorite vegan restaurants and just giving them somewhere to stay that's like warm and homely. I once had a beautiful internet friend that made me stay with her parents in a different state when I had never even met her yet, and that was great. And now that family is like my second family too. I feel like if I finish this video and don't share this last thing, my friends are gonna roast me for basically being a liar and not telling you all the things that I do, because when it comes to saving money whilst traveling, I mean it when I say I do everything I can, and that includes when we go to like a fast food restaurant or like a Whole Foods or things like that where they give you condiments with your meal. I take advantage. And by that I mean, if we're renting a camper van or an RV or anything, we're not buying salt shaker and pepper shaker and knives and forks and things. No. I will provide those things for us, and by that I mean I will obtain them from McDonald's, Starbucks, Burger King, you name it. They're giving out napkins, cool, that's us for the next week done. They've got little sauce sachets, perfect. In our RV we always had like the top or second drawer was just filled with little ketchup packets and salt and pepper and knives and forks, and it's great. Especially if you're camping, those things really come in handy. Finally, I think my last tip is just to sort of set expectations for yourself, whether that's a personal budget that you want to really stick to, or if you're traveling with friends or a group or another person, just having a conversation around the expectations. You don't want to go traveling with someone and find out that they are expecting to stay in 5-star hotels every night and do every paid experience under the sun when you are hoping to stay in like a hostel and do walking tours and do things a bit more budget friendly. By communicating about that stuff up front and maybe even like planning some things, you can really go into it with the same mindset. So even if you're traveling with people that want to do different things, you don't have to always have the same experiences. Just talk about it and see what you're comfortable with. And I think that is officially it. I would seriously love to hear all of your tips and the things that you guys do to travel cheaply. This video was really fun for me to make. I loved sort of doing all of this research and thinking about my past trips and the things that I learned from my parents, because obviously I can't go anywhere at the moment, so it was nice to just sort of do that planning aspect. I'm not going crazy in lockdown at all. But if you did enjoy this video, please give it a big thumbs up. It really helps out my channel, it helps other people find me, and let me know what kind of videos you would like to see from me in the future. Subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss an upload from me, and I will see you all next time. Bye!